Hey, what's up guys and welcome back to Anime King. And today I'm going to be giving you part 6 of What If Naruto Was the Legendary Neglected Uzumaki. Remember to get this one to 100 like as usual. Share this to all of your friends in your social media platform. And also guys, go ahead and check out the brand new episode of What If Naruto Became the God of Lightning on this channel and enjoy that guys. And over on Anime King 3, I post a brand new episode of What If Naruto Had the Ultimate Nature Bloodline. So go ahead and check out that and enjoy guys. And over on Anime King 2, I post a brand new episode of What If Naruto Was Neglected and Lost Everything. And if you're new, yes, you heard all of that correctly. I indeed have 3 channels, Anime King 2, Anime King 3, which I post What If on every single day for you guys to enjoy. So go ahead and check out those and enjoy. So yeah, without further ado, what do you say begin this new episode? Start the intro. So the last time we left off, as Minato returned back to the office, Fukaku was there, as well as some of the Anbu members, reporting, as they didn't manage to get much from the head of the man, as Uchiha took over the operation. The man was from the Hidden Stone. Whether he was being used or not, that was still unseen. But the man's head had suddenly combusted, as there was a seal placed in his head, so to make sure that no one got any information from him, even when he was dead. Someone planned all of this. Danzo had came inside as he spoke about the lack of the security around the village. He spoke about the Uchihas and also the Anbus. He could have his man find the information as Danzo was thinking that everything was going to play in his favor, but Minato gave him a couple of days to do so. And if he does not, he would find his man not useful, as Danzo made his way to get right on it. As they will need to send a letter towards the Chichikage. Whether the man know or not, they would need the man to know that they know. Being quiet like this was going to show Konoha weakness. That was something that they could not allow to happen, as the man was from the Hidden Stone. Kushina had tried her best as she tried to get Naruto to talk, but there was absolutely nothing coming from him. He was brought towards the compound, as Izumi was there trying to get him to talk, but he did not. It was then that Yoshino came, as she told him if he did not eat, she will forcefully open his mouth to the chain and force him to eat. As the boy looked towards her, that was progress. At least she was getting him angry enough for him to react. So with that, Shisui and Itachi came by to visit Naruto, as Itachi was with young Sasuke, as Shisui did something with his Sharingan on Naruto. It was only there to help him wake up. Shisui had entered Naruto's mind when Itachi had asked his father about it, as he helped him out of the confined space that he put himself in. Kushina dropped her coffee the next morning when she saw Naruto up and walking, as she was so happy to see her son. She was happy, she was delighted to see him, moving around and talking as she hugged him tightly, as he was hungry. So they went towards Ichiwaka Ramen, as Minato was there waiting. He probably got the alert that his son was up and awake, as the man was so happy, as Naruto didn't seem to want to talk about it right now. So they just gave him time. As time passed, as the teacher was beyond impressed by Naruto and Itachi, and the teacher wanted to give him the special graduation, but Minato didn't feel like Naruto was ready to partake on the world yet. He knew that Fukaku would love this. Yes, he would be excited to get Itachi to the academy. But with the situation and his enemies, he didn't want Naruto to try for the world yet, until he was ready. So he came up with a special program, which included the Uchiha police force, as he spoke to Naruto about it. Naruto was quite angry about it, that he wouldn't be able to graduate like normal. But his father said that this is how it was going to go, as he was going to have Naruto take part in the Uchiha police force until he was ready. While Itachi will pass, Naruto will pass as well, but he was still not going to be able to exit the village. As Minato took time out of his day and started to focus on Naruto's training, First, he started to focus on Naruto's speed, as Naruto already had a powerful defense, and when he learned how to fully master it, it would be impenetrable. So yeah guys, so basically that's what left off. You guys can switch across the place and check it out for yourself so as to begin this new episode. Naruto was currently lying on his back as he was tired. He was really tired. The continuous use of chakra and rushing around, adding on to the work that he was doing before he started this game of tag with his father. Not to mention he had a session later on with Fukaku, and that man always did something that was always taxing. Minato walked over and sat down beside Naruto. "We will do this until you're able to tag me," he said. "It's not fair," said Naruto with his eyes closed. "This is just high speed movement and you're teleporting. I can't tag you like that. If you are also using the same technique. And I also have weights on me," said Naruto. "Don't complain," said Minato with a smile. "I was giving you a few seconds before moving to another kunai, and I have to locate you and try to cover the distance between us. In those seconds," said Naruto. "It will take years before I can even come close." "Let's give it 5 seconds next time," said Naruto. "Fine," said Minato. "I'm surprised though, normally you would just try until you can't anymore before making complaints. I'm feeling a bit down to do the extreme," said Naruto. "And 2 sessions with 2 different people is proving to be a bit too much for me. Besides, I know my limit now." Minato nodded. He spoke in a quiet tone. "Naruto, do you really not hate me? Your mother is worried and so am I. I know it's not fair to you, but I just don't want anything to happen to you. I would never forgive myself if I send you out of the village and something happened to you." As Naruto did not respond, Minato turned his head to see if the redhead was sleeping or he was ignoring him. And Naruto was sleeping. He looked so peaceful while sleeping, even though Minato had a difficult time accepting it. Sometimes Naruto had some frightening looks. There was times one could catch him just staring off into nothingness. Fukaku said the blank look was something Naruto did a bit too often while training. And again, Itachi is always stoic as well, as him and Fukaku always wear that mask, keeping their face neutral. Those two wouldn't be worried, but Minato was worried about Naruto looks sometime. As Naruto had yet to fully talk to anyone about the incident, what happened in the Forest of Death, there was issues that he hasn't fully talked about yet. If he had the heart, he would have sealed away those memories the night it happened. But he knew it would only fix things temporarily. And over time, Naruto will have to deal with those memories. "Yoshino is gonna come down here one day and complain about the usage of light and electricity demands," said Kushina as she walked over to the two of them, with Karen in her hand. It was night and the entire place was lit up with bright lights, making it seem like it was day. The lights demanded much electricity. Yoshino wasn't the one that paid the bills, but she would be the one to complain. "You would explain things to her so she can see reasons," said Minato. As he got to his feet, he picked up Naruto and placed him on his back, before he turned towards his wife. "I think today I was a bit rough on him. It's necessary, isn't it?" she said. Minato nodded. "We might not have wished this life for him, but we just have to work hard to secure the future. And I'm sure that he wants to be strong so he can protect his younger sister. At least one of them has to enjoy normal life." Kushina nodded. "Karen-chan will have to reach at least Genin before returning to the clan to handle matters. Naruto can play a game of politics with the other clans, but his ignorance and lack of interest in these matters mean that Karen will have to step in to take care of some of the matters. He has a perfect poker face, but he focused too much on being a shinobi, so he wouldn't have time to handle clan business," said Minato. "On the bright side of things, it will save Karen from the cruel shinobi world. There is too much placed on his shoulders though," said Kushina with a sad look on her face. He had looked so happy that day no one thought it would change so much after 2 days. "It has happened," said Minato. "We just have to be parents to our children. We cannot make the same mistake twice." Time skip. The next day, Hokage Monument. It was strange that he didn't feel happiness holding the headband in his hand. The children at the academy would be jumping up and down in delight, but yet he felt nothing different. As expected, he passed graduation exam with Itachi, and they were given their headbands to show that they were shinobis of Konoha. Itachi could smile because he would start working hard to protect Konoha. That has been his dream along with Shisui. The Uchiha would be ecstatic. Well, on the inside, of course. But for him, he wasn't going anywhere. He was going to be stuck in the village handling less dangerous things, while Itachi enjoyed life of a shinobi. "Are you that displeased with what life has brought you?" Itachi asked, seeing the look on Naruto's face. "Isn't it obvious?" said Naruto. "My life has been forced to take turns because of situations I have no control over. At one point I became religious and started to pray, but that had changed nothing. So many things happen that I cannot control, and so many of it is not working in my favor." He was beginning to think that the god that he prayed to heard him, and got infuriated with him because he gave him the middle finger. He couldn't be faulted for doing it though. The damn god that he prayed to wasn't responding to his prayers, and he was still a kid. Weren't kids supposed to get all their wishes come through? But for him, there's been nothing like that. "This is life, Naruto," Itachi said. "Instead of fighting this reality, you should try to twist it to your liking. Some things we cannot change, but we can make the best of some situation to suit ourselves. Naruto turned towards Itachi, who already had the fourth protector wrapped around his forehead. Make the best out of it, huh? Yes, instead of hating and fighting the position that you're in, you should look at all the positives. I might be blind, said Naruto as he turned his back towards Itachi, because I've seen no positives. That is because you have a lot to deal with at the moment. When we're burdened, we fail to see the truth in front of us, because there's a lot blocking that truth. It is worse on you because you always turn an ignorant eye to things happening around you, apparently. So will you enlighten this blind fool, Itachi, Naruto asks. Itachi raised an eyebrow at that. That was the first time he ever heard Naruto refer to himself as that, and he was smirking as he spoke. Itachi shook his head at that. He shouldn't focus too much on what Naruto was thinking inside his head, as you couldn't really read him that much. It seems no one could. The first and more important thing is that you get to live. Because of the trouble outside and the increase of loads of missions being done by Anvu, your father can't have a squad of Anvu protecting you at all times if you want to go outside the village. Even so, there is no doubt that you can be fully protected. He doesn't want to risk his man when the situation can be avoided altogether. My life, huh? Said Naruto as he closed his eyes. As he thought about it, there wasn't anything more important than being alive. If he was dead, he was dead. He would cease to exist in this world, and his sister would never get to know him. That would be disappointing. To be alive means you can live and train to fight another day. You have been confined in this village to train and grow strongly. It doesn't mean that you won't become strong because you have been restricted. You have been growing strong on your own without even being outside the village. My development is not an issue, said Naruto. As ignorant as I am, I know that my development will not be stunted by this. I am receiving training from your father and my father. It is helping me become stronger. I feel we won't be able to train much time a day though. We will make time, Itachi said. Well, that is if our duties do not get in the way. As Itachi knew full well, once he entered the shinobi world, he would be busy. One more thing is, you'll be get to doing missions with the police force. The villagers will see you every day. They will see Uzumaki and Naruto working hard to keep the peace in the streets. What are you getting at? Said Naruto. You want to be great, correct? As Naruto nodded. Well, this is your start, Itachi said. Be great in the military police force, and the villagers will acknowledge you. They will acknowledge Uzumaki and Naruto. This will be your first time. Once you leave the streets, you will have the foundation. And when you go off to your missions, villagers will ask, where is Uzumaki and Naruto? After Itachi stopped speaking, Naruto was silent, before he burst out laughing. Although the laugh had hit Itachi, he didn't have a reaction to it. Once Naruto was calm, he turned to face Itachi, his eyes closed as he had a smile on his face. You're rather good at this manipulation game, Itachi, he said. Not my intention, but I'm just trying to have you see the bright side of things. What I have said is the truth. There are no lies. And it just depends on whether you take it or not, Itachi said. As Naruto's eyes open, next year, you will be assigned to a team when the others graduate. After that, you will grow as a shinobi, from Genin to Chunin, and from Chunin to Jonin. What then? When I am eligible, I'm thinking of joining the Anvu, Itachi said. Their motto of protecting the village from the shadows, without receiving praise, interests me. And my father said it would be best if I go that way. I see, said Naruto. Looks like I'll be in your shadow for a while, even after Chunin exams come. After some time, my father will not allow me to enter because if I gain a promotion, he will be forced to release me, and since the exams are open to elemental nation, my skills will be revealed to everyone. That will be a danger, Itachi said. I imagine it will be a major threat if other nations start to think there will be another Yellow Flash. You understand what that jutsu makes your father, right? Imagine if you also had it in your arsenal. One Harishing is already a flea on sight, a second one would be a disaster. Your father annihilate an army of thousands using that jutsu. If you get added to the scenario, no army would be safe. They will just have to send you too, and armies would retreat. Other nations cannot bear that thought. They would prefer to start another war they cannot win than allow another Yellow Flash to rise. People are willing to do anything. As you are now, you cannot do much. That is why you must stand beside your father to get stronger, so that you could protect what is precious to you. As Naruto blinked, I didn't ask you to read me a scripture, but I do see your point. I'm glad you do, Itachi said. Yet it still bothers me that I will have to wait, said Naruto. I'm going to hope to do some reading. When are we supposed to meet up? In 3 hours, said Itachi. Naruto started to walk. I'll see you then, he said. Itachi watched Naruto leave as he frowned a bit. As since the instant, Naruto has been too focused on his training. He no longer engaged in those kind of talks he did with Shisui. But the redhead said that he was selfish, so it shouldn't really surprise him. The young ones grew a bit too quickly these days. Jiraiya said, walking up to Itachi. Seeing the Uchiha become a bit guarded, Jiraiya waved his right hand. Have no fear, he said, as he looked over at Itachi carefully, taking in every feature. Well, there was no doubt that he was Fukaku's son, if that look was anything to go by. How long have you been watching, Jiraiya-sama? Itachi asked. Oh? What makes you think I've been watching you two? Said Jiraiya. It is not a coincidence that you just appear right after Naruto left. You were watching us. Perhaps Naruto was an interest. You're the one that trained his father. One would assume that you will take interest in him as well. Jiraiya raised an eyebrow. Well, I'm interested in you as well, he said. The old man speaks highly of you. More than he does of Naruto. Skills aside, he said you have a great personality. And these days, no one knows what is going on inside Naruto's head. Itachi was not surprised by that. The third had praised both him and Shisui regularly, while expressing concern over Naruto's attitude. The old man gave them a mission to try and shed some light into Naruto's life. Not that the redhead was clothed in darkness, but he just did not see things the way they do. And that was the problem. Nothing evil is going on inside his head, Itachi said. I have no doubt about that. He may be indifferent towards a lot of things, but he isn't the type to be plotting things. To what he has gone through, he doesn't have any dark thoughts to make me fear for anything. I have listened to him speak, and I have watched his movements, but that doesn't mean that he's a good person, Jiraiya asked. Itachi shook his head. Perhaps my father and I are the ones who understand him more than anyone. And what do you mean by that, Jiraiya asked, the raised eyebrow. When Naruto speaks of his training, he doesn't say months. He says years. This is because of the use of his clones, technically. It has been months. But the experience is years. Every day his mind has to process information from at least 10 clones. Given his age, it's a bit too much if he's doing it every day. It's logical to think that as he sorts the members of his clones, it changes mindset as well. And he also deals with things inside and expressing them out loud. Well, that's a unique way to look at things, Jiraiya said in thought. Time skip. Uzumaki compound. As Naruto looked up from his reading, a stranger in the Uzumaki compound. This was a rare sight. Not even the third was a frequent visitor to the clan. The old man came to use library though, but not every section was available to him, especially the ones that were written by the Uzumakis. Clan secrets. It was still day. Naruto was in the clan training ground, going over some notes, over his Fuinjutsu. The old Hagad spoke to him. It was a necessary requirement for becoming clan head. He had to learn the Fuinjutsu. Even if he does become Jonin, without the required skills, he wouldn't become the clan head until he was 18. Jiraiya's eyes were focused on the marks that stretched out around Naruto. It was some complex stuff. He had the unique signature of the Uzumaki in them. He didn't know that the redhead was this far in seals. What is this, Jiraiya asked as he kneeled down and looked at the seal closely. Work in progress, said Naruto. Who are you? Jiraiya blinked as he looked up. The redhead seemed rather serious about the question. If Jiraiya wasn't told about his ignorance, he would have thought that Naruto was pulling one on him. As he stood up and went through his poses, as he introduced himself, I am the legendary Toad Sage. Jiraiya-sama, he said. As Naruto was looking back on the ground, not really paying attention to the man anymore. He had no interest in looking at the man's ridiculous poses. Interesting, the redhead said. You like my poses, Jiraiya asked. Naruto shook his head. The interesting part was, people were willing to believe him when he said that he didn't know something. Well, he wasn't going to tell Jiraiya that. I didn't see it, said Naruto. Jiraiya almost died at that. When you stood up, I went back to my work. I actually know you. I'm not that ignorant that I wouldn't know the man that trained my father. He also speaks of you. But the image is one that has eluded me, said Naruto. Well, I would have been shocked if you didn't know anything about me. That would have made Minato didn't talk about me, said Jiraiya. Or maybe he does and chose to ignore it, said Naruto. I don't know where my mother is. My father is at the tower, said Naruto. What makes you think I came here for them, said Jiraiya. As Naruto looked up, his head tilted aside. You're here for me then? As he had a smile on his face. I'm all ears, Jiraiya-sama, he said. Finally, said Jiraiya. A kid who knows to respect his elders. Jiraiya said happily. So, what are you working on, he asked. It's a secret, said Naruto. Come on, I won't tell anyone, Jiraiya said. Besides, I recognize gravity. Seal marks on the ground around here. Are you trying to create a large gravity seal? Ah, said Naruto, so the word about you being a seal master is not exaggerated. It is something like that, but not exactly. What is it then, said Jiraiya. I am creating my field. There's a seal that enhances gravity, slowly absorb chakra, and heighten my sensory abilities. Jiraiya's eyes widened at that. Genius, he said. How do you think of something like that? The perfect defense. The weight, gravity seals, my lack of sharp senses abilities, and the Sharingan ability to predict movements, said Naruto. At the last part, Jiraiya raised eyebrow. You know about that? So I'm guessing you come across those eyes and you have been reading about them. I was told the second Hokage did a thorough research in those eyes. You've been using your library. Use everything at your disposal to make yourself better, said Naruto. That's the only useful thing I've learned from the academy teacher. Jiraiya just nodded as he went back to the seal. The perfect defense, huh? So how is it gonna work? This is not the defense, said Naruto. This just complements it. When I said a feel, I meant it literally. I'm going to create a feel that slowly absorb the opponent's chakra and slow down their movements, so they do not notice it. Also, the sensory part will mean it will be my field of vision. I can feel everything that happens. At least that is the plan. What is a perfect defense? Jiraiya asked. Something I'm perfecting, said Naruto, without going into detail. Jiraiya frowned, but he did not push it. Something like this cannot be perfect. Once the opponent notices this, they won't try to get closer to you. They will try long-range attacks, and seeing that this is planted to the ground, you won't be able to move around with it. This means your own movements will be limited as well, said Jiraiya. I'm impressed that someone your age was able to create something like this though, said Jiraiya. Naruto shook his head. I don't take the credit for this. I did not create it alone. I came up with the idea, and Izumi did the formulas. I'm just going through the finished touches. That is still impressive for someone your age. The ability to create seals come with the imagination to invent something and understanding the art. The fact that you can understand this means you're adept to the tricks behind Fuinjutsu. But of course, understanding doesn't really necessarily means the ability to create. Knowledge and practical skills are two different things, apparently, said Naruto. I mean no offense, but I'm unable to work with you here. And I have to be out of here in an hour. I'm kind of obsessive about meeting my targets and everything runs on schedule. And I'd rather not ruin it when there's a chance for me not to. Jiraiya stared at Naruto for a few moments before settling down. I'm here about your first kill, and made the decision to not let you leave the village until you decide otherwise. Old matter, said Naruto. I have talked about the second matter a bit too much, and after that talk with Itachi, talking about it again will be nothing more than annoyance. What about the first matter? You haven't been talking to someone about it, and your father is quite worried. That is because there's nothing to talk about. My father is just too worried, said Naruto. There are no problems. I did what I did. If it troubled me, I will go ask about it. For now, there's nothing to worry about because I handle what is going on inside my head. After he finished, he went back to his scroll. He needs to get this done in time. Jiraiya sighed. I have an offer that will smooth things out, he said, as Naruto did not respond or talk to him. If you want to go outside the village, I will be more than happy to go with you. I'm a Sannin. No one will be willing to attack me head on. My presence solve the problem of protection. That's an interesting offer, said Naruto. Why are you offering it? It will certainly please me, but what about you? Jiraiya merely smiled. Since I'm your godfather, I thought it would be nice if I ease up things for you. Besides that, you're Minato's son. Minato was my brightest pupil. As Naruto looked at the man for 2 seconds, before turning back to his work. Jiraiya did not leave, as he summoned a bottle of sake. He would need something to drink while observing the redhead. It was a bit too early and Kushina would probably kill him if she saw him drink in front of her son. But the redhead was ignoring him. What choice did he have? Oh, said Jiraiya. There's actually something that brought me here. As Naruto looked up before looking back down. You do know about summons, right? I hold the Toad summoning contract. Your father has signed it as well. I would like you to sign it as well. Once you're ready, we'll give you the ability to summon Toads to aid you on the battlefield. You would be like the 3rd generation Toad contract holder. Not interested, said Naruto. There's no need for me to sign the contract. My father and you already have it. And I don't intend to follow your line, Jiraiya-sama. I wish to follow my own path. If you come back tomorrow, my answer will still be no. Now, can you please allow me to get back to my work? The redhead asked in a nice tone. Time skip. Uchiha compound. Mother, said Naruto as he walked past the gates of the compound. He had not been expected to come across her. He knew she was friends with the other woman, but he never came across her despite his many visits. Kushina smiled when she saw him going off to training. Naruto nodded. Good thing I came across you. Since I don't have training with father today, I won't be returning back home today. I will stay here for the night, he said. Kushina frowned. This wasn't the first time he was doing this, and it didn't make her happy. She wanted him to sleep at the compound, but she couldn't really force him to come back. He could be stubborn when he wanted to be, and she didn't want to do anything that could drive him away. Seeing Kushina frown, Minato gave her a gentle squeeze on her shoulder and smiled. Don't worry, I will take good care of him. Now go on, they're waiting for you. As Naruto smiled, thank you, he said. As he walked forward, even though he was told that others were waiting for him, he did not run. He walked calmly. Kushina was still frowning. She knew that Minato would make sure that Naruto was okay. The thing is, she wanted to be the one to take care of him. Minato was the one that got time to spend time with him. But what about her? Does it bother you? Admittedly, ever since the incident, I have not been able to connect with him. It's like there's something in between us and I can't really see him. Even though he smiles, sometimes it just feels empty. I understand, Minato said that sad smile. I will try to talk to him tonight. He and I have this sort of special connection. Kushina raised the eyebrow at that. What do you mean special connection, she demanded. She was worried that Naruto would be driven into the hands of the Uchihas, with all they were demanding him. It was a bit okay with Minato, seeing that he had the time to talk to Naruto while they were training, but not her, as she didn't want anyone to replace her as Naruto's mother, not if that person was her friend. Minato merely laughed. I have seen his real smile, she said. He's sweet when you talk to him about what you want to talk about. He's kind of selfish that way. I wasn't aware you were getting familiar with my son, said Kushina. Minato shrugged. I can't say I've been growing familiar with him. Sometime he come in for his sessions. He had to wait for Fukaku and Itachi, and I keep him company. I see, said Kushina. Our sons are growing so fast, aren't they? Minato nodded, because both of them had a weight on their shoulders. And without this training, they won't be able to withstand what is about to come. The situation inside and outside doesn't suit both clans. So we will have to work together for that to change. Change, huh? Said Kushina in thought. I hope none of my children or grandchildren are forced to become Jinjulkis. If it wasn't really necessary, I would rather allow the Kyuubi to be out of her life. It was a burden to carry out the Biju, and she didn't want anyone else to carry it. She had lived through it all holding it. But it would be different the third Jinjulki if they end up choosing one. Problem was, since it went on a rampage, the villagers don't just fear it, they hate it as well. Anyone who was known to be the holder of the beast would be targeted as well. But just because they did not know who it was sealed into, they placed their hatred towards the clan. Things will change, Kushina. They will, said Mikoto. With Naruto, as he arrived, he knew that he was not late, but it seemed like the two decided to just start without him. As Naruto noticed Itachi had his Sharingan activated, there was also some Uchihas watching on the sidelines. There had been something he neglected to ask Itachi. According to the notes from Tobirama, the Uchihas had to go through some emotional crap to awaken it. Perhaps his mind was being corrupted by the thought the second Kage had in his mind. As Naruto got the feeling from his notes, the man did not like the Uchihas at all. That's enough, said Fukaku, as he brought their train to a halt. He motioned for Naruto to come closer. As Naruto turned his head towards the red eyes over to the corner, watching like a hawk. He didn't like those eyes watching his every step. He felt exposed. Although it wasn't as horrible as the feeling that he got when he looked at the Byakugan, that gave him a thought he would use the seal that was on the Uzumaki walls and put it on himself. So those eyes could not be used on him. I feel I'm being judged by those eyes looking at me, said Naruto, as he spoke to Fukaku, as he wondered why were they even here in the first place. He liked to keep his training secret. Shisui wasn't a problem. He did train with the Uchiha after all. You're not far off, Fukaku said. Not everyone is happy to see me spending time training you, along with Itachi. Your father's request has also made things complicated, and some members of the clan want to see if you're worth the effort. A smile came on Naruto's face. What made him smile was people thought that he was not worth the effort of Fukaku teaching him to get into shape. My worth, huh? He said, that smile on his face. It was not happy, it seems empty. I really dislike when someone questions the value of my existence. But that is just another luggage that has to be dealt with in this world. There are prices you must pay for some things. Not everything is free after all. I'm glad you understand, said Fukaku. Don't disappoint me. As he motioned for the three to come. He's all yours. As Naruto looked towards Itachi, where's Shisui? He's on a mission. He should be back tomorrow, or anytime in the next 3 days. I see, said Naruto as he turned towards the three Uchihas. One of them stepped towards him with that expressionless mask those Uchihas wore. Uzumaki Naruto, he said, the small bow of his head. Uchiha Minato, the man introduced himself. I want to test and see if you're as good as Fukaku-sama says you are. We don't allow outsiders in our clan, but in some cases, we take some exceptions. However, you must be worth the trouble or you will not be accepted to Konoha military police force. As Naruto opened his eyes halfway. Really, he said, there's one technique that you need to be able to execute. This is a first stage. If you can't pass through it, there will be no reason to go to the next, Uchiha said. Show me the Uchiha signature jutsu. Naruto did 2 hand signs. The man was surprised that Naruto only performed 2 hand signs. Fire style. Minato sped away as Naruto threw the fire straight towards him. As Naruto didn't even turn, he just released it with the man right in front of him. The man appeared to the side as he watched Naruto flames burn the area. The flames were extremely hot. The redhead looked back as the Uchiha saw the boy smiling. Their unnerving smile. Minato looked back towards Fukaku, who just seemed amused. He frowned for a moment before looking back at Naruto. Why did you do that? You wanted to see the jutsu, and I wanted to see if the Sharingan is as great as I heard. That was shooting 2 birds with 1 stone. I had the utmost confidence that you would dodge it, said Naruto. If I hadn't dodged it, the man asked. As Naruto's eyes crinkled up, Fukaku stepped in as he knew what Naruto was going to say, and that would just infuriate the Uchiha. Move on to the next step. We have training to do. Minato composed himself. He didn't want the redhead to take part in anything, but he made a deal with Fukaku, and he had to go through it. I was told that you were creating the perfect defense. Show it to me and I willingly accept you in the police force. If you perform, I will even convince the others to treat you fairly. I will hold you to that, said Naruto. As he brought his hands up, 2 chains shot out of him as he wrapped around his body. 7 more formed as they all lined up, forming like pillars around him. He snapped his fingers as chakra chains burst with flames. It's not complete, not even imperfect. This is why I'm willing to show it to you. These flames will burn you if you touch him. Inabe-san, please avoid them. Inabe frowned. As far as he knew, those chains were unbreakable, so hitting them and using jutsu would be a waste. If the redhead was telling the truth, he would have to get away past them. But they seemed to be moving at their own will. Even if he get past the chains, there were still 2 others wrapped around Naruto. Not wanting to work so hard against the kid, he swallowed his pride as he looked towards Fukaku. He is as you say. As he looked back towards Naruto, Welcome to the police military force. Meet me at the top of the village hospital. At 9 p.m. along with Itachi, the man vanished after saying those words, as the other two followed him. Fukaku looked towards Naruto with a small smile. Your ability to mask your emotions, and even fool a Sharingan. What if he had decided to attack? That would have been a problem, said Naruto. Fukaku shook his head. Work hard to perfect that technique of yours. You will need it soon, the man said. You will do patrols from 9 p.m. to 12 a.m. I advise the both of you to not do anything taxing. You will need your energy later on. Itachi waited for his father to leave before he spoke. Be careful who you act around other Uchihas. Not all of us are smart enough to swallow our pride. And you really don't want to wound that Uchiha pride. You will not be liked. Shouldn't you be saying we are a prideful clan, said Naruto. I am a Uchiha, but I know what is important, just as my father and Shisui does. Inabe-san isn't so bad, just a bit too serious, said Itachi. Did Jiraiya-sama come to speak with you? He did, said Naruto. I wonder why so many people are over my case. You, Fukaku and Shisui, has not worried and bombarded me with 21 questions. You have to understand that they're worried. The trance was expected, but to come out of it with a smile and not to talk about it after killing someone. I had a talk with Shisui when he invaded my peace and privacy. And I had a talk with the old man. What more is there to talk about? The question is, how has it affected you, said Itachi. Nothing much has changed, said Naruto as he placed hand on his chest. I will admit, things have become a bit more colder in here. Even the slightest tilt in a person's character can cause the biggest changes, said Itachi. As Naruto chose to ignore that last part, there's still time before we have time with the military police. What shall we do to kill time? The next morning, Yoshino threw 2 scrolls towards Naruto as he caught them, as he looked at her curiously. That stupid girl told me you were looking to grab the seals and barriers. Those 2 scrolls should help you deal with that. By the time your father allows you to leave the village, you must be able to thoroughly know and perform a sealing technique used for Bijus, and you must have invented a seal of your own, which should not be useless. If you cannot tick the boxes, the clan will forbid you from leaving. Naruto frowned. That was not an impossible task, but he hated the fact that he could not control everything about his life. I will see that I don't disappoint, as he was not smiling this time. She did not question that though. That is what we expect. As she walked away, Izumi then came in. Nothing too troublesome this time, I hope, she said. As Naruto looked towards her, he did not speak for a long while. It made her feel uncomfortable as he just looked towards her. He then finally spoke. I will be earning a salary from the police military force. We can afford a place outside the compound, he said. The restrictions here are starting to get to me. I need a place I can use for my freedom and peace. Izumi frowned at that. You need to speak to your parents first. What about Karin-chan? I never said anything about leaving the compound. I said I need to find a place that will be like my hiding place, said Naruto. My dear sister is not forgotten, and I need the library of this compound. I will still be making regular visits. Time skip, Uchiha compound. Itachi was in training ground when Shisui walked up to him, looking a bit worn out. Tough mission. Shisui slumped down on the ground beside him. Yeah, says Shisui. Lost a teammate yesterday. The power of my eyes is not unknown, and it seems like some people do anything to get their hands on them. I am facing threats even in the village. Itachi's face hardened. Danzo, he said. As Shisui nodded, he has been making moves, but I have not told your father yet. I know if I do, he will wage war against Warhawk. He will be in his right to do so. But if we allow something like that to happen, there will be trouble. You understand, right? Itachi nodded. Danzo will not just sit back and allow father to attack him, and this village might be caught up in a cross war. That is a less likely scenario though, but Danzo will fight and father will fight, and the Hokage will have to pick side. He will pick our side, and even if we manage to end things quickly, the villagers will feel the effects and blame us for causing trouble when they were enjoying their peace, Shisui said. The clan cannot have that. This is why I will deal with this on my own. I cannot allow the clan to be dragged into this. I am just one person. This village and this clan is worth more than that. Are you sure? Itachi asked. Shisui nodded. I will need your help, but there's something happening I don't have to worry, because I will know that you're still in the village. You can never doubt yourself, Itachi. There will be troublesome times ahead, and cannot always expect me to be there to help you out. For this reason, you must help Naruto. Speaking of the red head, how far are you? Itachi thought about something for a few moments before he spoke. Have you seen Naruto's eyes? I suspect there's a deeper meaning to that question, but I can't say what. Everyone who knows Naruto knows his poker face, but people has not seen his eyes. The eyes say a lot about a person, but Naruto hide what is in his eyes. He always closes them while he's looking at you. What is he hiding? Who knows, said Shisui. But I guess it is something we will eventually see. You said people. Have you seen them? For a second. They're friendly cool. But that doesn't mean that there's no kindness in him. I've seen more of my mother and his family. I truly believe that working with lively people will grow that kindness. Time skip. The hidden stone. Tsukage's office. Fool! Unki roared after reading the letter he got from Konoha. What the hell were his people thinking? He had promised pain to anyone that did something like this. And to think that someone would be stupid enough to take action. There hadn't been any problems before. Why now? He calmed himself as he looked back down at the letter once again. It was disappointing that Fool could have done this and failed. He wouldn't have complained that much if the man had succeeded. But to fail and die, that was just unacceptable, leaving him to face the consequences. Oh no. Wait, he did not? Only he grinned. He had washed his hands of anyone going after Minato because of their hatred. He couldn't be faulted. It did not matter if the person was a shinobi. Fact of the matter is he washed his hands, and his people would agree with him on that one. But the fact that Konoha was not posing this up in the light meant that they didn't want trouble, or they didn't have the strength to risk trouble. Since the last war, the stone has recovered a bit more than Konoha. The village had suffered a few more losses when the Kyuubi attacked, so they wouldn't want to go into another war. Minato was still to be feared, but one man alone could not take on two villages. After all, Kumo was also not in good terms, despite their peace treaty. Even so, they had no plans to wage war against Konoha, because if they did, the Hidden Leaf will conflict mass loss on them. That was just how powerful Konoha was, and the Tsuchikage was not stupid enough to underestimate that power. Yet he was not gonna apologize. He was merely gonna send a letter back saying that he received their letter, and he was gonna take steps to ensure that it won't happen again. He will just wait and see how Konoha reacts to it. Time skip. Jiraiya looked at Naruto with a frown as the both of them stood on top of the village walls, just away from the gate. They just returned from their month-long vacation. He had took the redhead out of the village so that he could get a fresh mind and get away from training for a bit. It wasn't what Kushina wanted, Naruto going out on a vacation with the Sannin. She had warned him over and over again about teaching her son anything perverted. If she had any choice, she would have had someone take her son out. But with the situation messy outside, she didn't have anyone who could do it. Jiraiya merely told him that he was going to take him out to see the outside world, and that is what he did. Some years has passed since the incident when he took that man's life. And since then he has been training and working at the military police force. So that is why they think that he needs a vacation. A month-long vacation that Naruto complained about the entire time. You're hard to please, you know, said Jiraiya. As Naruto looked towards the man. What are you talking about? He wasn't that hard to please. Just give him what he wanted, and he could be pleased easily. When we were outside the village, you were complaining about returning back home, Jiraiya said. But you were mad before that your father forbid you from leaving the village. But when you leave, you want to return back home. And now that you're home, you can't even crack a smile. I thought I was smiling. I was only complaining because the vacation was taking my time away from training. However, it was rather refreshing to have my body relaxed and my mind as well. That is more like it. If your mother asks, I did not take you anywhere I should not, okay? I took you out to see the sea, and we enjoyed some time under the sun, and see some of the other villages, okay? Said Jiraiya. Sure, said Naruto. That smile doesn't comfort me. I'll go tell your father that we have returned. You go home. As Naruto was gone, Jiraiya saw flames dying down, just from Naruto shifting away. I gotta have him teach me that, Jiraiya said. Time skip. Uzumaki compound. The moment Naruto came, he was grabbed by his smiling mother, no matter how big he was, as she squeezed him into a tight hug. You're back. We missed you so much, she said. She was literally holding him up off the ground. I'm 12, mother. It's embarrassing when you carry me like that, said Naruto. But she was going to take that. I missed you too, mother. It has only been a month though. It has been 40 days, Kushina said. Naruto raised his eyebrow. You were counting? Of course, she said. She looked him over. You look okay. That pervert didn't starve you. Everything checks as she looked into his eyes. You should cut your hair though. It's getting longer. I prefer it this way, said Naruto. Karen? She's out with Izumi, said Kushina. Tell me things when she says she brought him towards the main sit-in. As Naruto frowned, he would have to improvise the story and make it light for Jiraiya's sake. 2 hours later, Itachi stepped into the apartment Naruto uses as a hiding place. As Naruto went as far as to call it that, Itachi also used as well when he needs some rest away from everything. As the redhead was on the couch, reading a book. So you have returned, Itachi said, as he pushed Naruto feet away and sat down to get some space. Being in Anvo keep you informed, said Naruto, his eyes still focused on the book. Just last year, Itachi was accepted into the Anvo, and he was working to gain praise. Every corner in the Anvo there was Itachi this, and Itachi that. If Naruto was in there, he'd have been sick already. How could one person command such praise in a class of expert of what they did? Anvos were highly trained individuals, and yet, according to Kakashi, there was no one like Itachi. He was right about that, there was only one Itachi. The only way to get another was to clone him. He might have been doing a lot in the military police force, but he didn't get as much praise as Itachi did. After all, despite everything, he was still at Uzumaki, not at Uchiha. He was an outsider, The day Itachi had made Chunin, Naruto said that he was jealous that Itachi made it so quickly while he was still stuck in the streets, blowing dust. Naruto placed his book on his chest as he spoke. Not a busy week. No, I'm off. Every now and then we do get some time off, but it is not really guaranteed that you actually enjoy it, said Itachi. The envoys are always called into action, especially with things boiling out there. You know it better, said Naruto. Over the past month, I've not been able to know anything. I was walking the lines of peaceful borders. You would never know there was some battle going on, or in the elemental nation. Not every line is affected. The Hidden Stone is not hiding its hostility towards Konoha Shinobi though. It has been worsened since the San, our allies, decided to back away from any fight. Should it ignite? Cowards, said Naruto though thinking. But after thinking about it, he smiled. Not a bad move for them. If they can maintain their neutrality through all of this, and if a war does break out and they're not affected by anything, we will be exhausted and they will be fresh from all of the battles, said Naruto. Itachi nodded. They're only thinking about themselves though. Konoha has always been supported towards the San, and for them to throw us out like this in the cold, it shows how much they value our alliance. I am told Konoha still does business with them, Naruto said. That is something we will have to keep on doing, Itachi said. Should you question the move though? You're the one who was forced to study economics by your clan because of your suitability to be Hokage. You say it like I'm the only one in the running, said Naruto. Unless something happened in your future, I don't think I'm gonna take the job. There's too much responsibility, and I will admit, I am not as responsible as you are. Even if Naruto got the job, he wouldn't take it for too long. Every Hokage had the right to choose a successor. If he was forced to take the mantle, he will sit there for a year or two, then give it to a Uchiha. It would be good to give one of them title as a Kage. That can be fixed, Itachi said. When you're put into a position where many people is looking for your help, you will not just so carelessly throw it away. Trading with the San might be a good thing for Konoha, but it depends. This is a large village and we have a lot more allies. Our business. We have the feud lord as well. So the San is really not that much way over us. But depending too much on the feud lord might be a bit of a problem though. Yes, Itachi said. If we rely too much on him, it means Konoha would become too prone from influences on his side. But trading with the San is the only trading that is not disturbed by the mercenary groups that are targeting our supplies off the other routes. That shouldn't be a problem if you're able to defend yourself. They will get tired soon enough. This does exhaust the village forces though. Oh well, it's not like the village lacks shinobis. Black Ops are in shortage. This is why when we're coming back from a mission, we're usually sent back out there for a long while. Have you thought about joining the envoy, Itachi asked. No, the thought has never been on my mind, said Naruto. I don't think my father would even allow it unless it was part-time basis. I wish to rise in the ranks. From Genin to Chunin, then to Jonin. That would be a pleasant experience. Itachi shook his head. Naruto said nothing about the village protection, but it will serve the village well if Naruto fought on the front lines. He was a fourth Hokage's son. That came with the fear of the Irish Jutsu. It would put anyone in their place if Naruto walked onto the front lines. And with that fear, they could end things without any more bloodshed. Yes, that would be the best action right now. My time in the sideline is almost up, said Naruto. Besides, walking in the Anvu means that I will be walking in your shadow, and I would rather not have that if I'm joining Anvu. It will be when I have established my name. I hate it when I'm walking around and I'm reminded that I graduate with you, and I'm still a Genin and you're Anvu. But that has forced you to work even harder, Itachi said. Yet, still a Genin, said Naruto. I thought rankings wouldn't matter, but it does when some people talk about me like I can't hear them. Do you know how infuriating it is when I hear, look at him. Itachi-san was out there working in the village, while he's here in the comfort. We had so much hope for him when we heard that he was on par with Itachi. Hell, some of the children we left in the academy laughed at me. Itachi looked amused as Naruto was ranting. Did you end up training with Jiraiya-sama? After all, Jiraiya was a man to be respected, his power at least. As Naruto snorted, Itachi raised his eyebrow. What? There was no training, not a damn session of training. I wasn't expecting to learn any lessons from man, but to be deprived of my own training time was frustrating at first. If they hadn't tried it before, they would have sealed off my chakra so I don't train. I thought you would get some training, said Itachi. He was surprised. My father didn't even know the specifics, because there was no warning of you disappearing from the village. There was none? Well, I ended up learning things about life and adult fun. It was pleasant and unpleasant, said Naruto. I was forced into a leave away from training. Well, from what my father said, you were at it on a daily basis, and it will take its toll on you. You're just lucky you're Uzumaki. Any normal person will collapse already. What were you doing with Jiraiya? He was wasting all the money my father gave him for traveling expenses. My mother said no to camping, so we had enough money for hotels. And yet, we slept in the forest at night sometimes. We visited all brothels the man could see. And when he was not whoring around with some prostitutes, he got drunk and spout his nonsense. That must have been unpleasant, Itachi said. Itachi shook his head. That was wrong. After all, Naruto was still 12, and that was just irresponsible. Well, all of this was wrong. The alcohol and sex was wrong, but killing was okay, regardless their age. Just because they were a shinobi. After all, killing was worse than a drop of alcohol. Even so, he wouldn't condone that kind of lifestyle to someone their age. Two wrongs didn't make a right. Well, not at all, said Naruto. Itachi was surprised. It was unpleasant. Perhaps it was the only time when I wasn't wearing a bored mask on my face. Those people did not mind that I was there. The headband got me through many places. One lady even said to me, old enough to kill, old enough to do anything else. It was rather amusing. Itachi froze as he looked at Naruto. As he wondered, did you? He asked. Naruto smiled. What do you think? He might have proven to be irresponsible at times, but I don't think he would allow you to do that. If your mother found out, she would literally kill him. It would be morally wrong for him to allow something like that to happen. Naruto snorted. That man has no morals when it comes to women. He once had me transform into a naked woman, so he can have a rush of blood. When we ran out of money, his pockets had still been full. We wouldn't have returned today, said Naruto. So that was the unpleasant experience, Itachi said. Bingo, said Naruto. I saw a lot of things and did a few things, but my innocence was preserved. I'm too young for that, although that kind of adult world let you forget all the things in your head. I hope you're not suggesting what you're suggesting. I don't even want to know what you saw or what few things you did, said Itachi. Well, I say it is better than watching a man scream in panic and fear while he's being tortured, or watching the blood rush out of your victim when you fight. Itachi frowned. Blood. That was what he saw every time. With being Anvu, him and death was a daily occurrence. What else happened? He took me to see the Slug Princess, said Naruto. Itachi shook his head. Only Naruto could be indifferent about meeting one of the legendary Sannins. What was the expression then? She was drunk and couldn't say anything sensible when we met her. The other day she brushed me aside when Jiraiya introduced me to her. I have no interest in her. For someone who's healed so much, she's rather pathetic. Jiraiya told her to return because of the situation around Konoha, and there was a lot of whining. So I decided to just walk away. She was rather annoying. You were not impressed, Itachi said. As Naruto shook his head, the Sannins might be great shinobi, but there is something deeply wrong with them. They are not like your father or my father. I can't believe they were trained by the third Hokage. One is a crazy pedophile that kidnaps children and experiments on them. The other one's a shameless pervert. And the last one's just utter disappointment. When you have gone through a war, there's a lot that happened to you, my father says. Orochimaru was already messed up before the occasion, but Snally has lost a lot in her life. And Jiraiya, as a pervert he might be, he has done a lot for his village. I am not arguing with that, said Naruto. They all fought for Konoha bravely, but I really don't see a difference in what Orochimaru did from what Snally did. That was stretching that bit thin, Itachi said. Orochimaru's killing people out there, and he left the village because his evil deeds had caught up to him and been discovered. You cannot really compare the two. I just did, said Naruto. I have heard the nurses talk. They say if that woman was present, a lot of death would be avoided. Orochimaru is evil, but that woman's a disappointment that has deserted the village and does not care if people live or not. With her power, she could make a difference, but what does she do? She leaves the village that her grandfather created to roam around the world like a drunken whore, said Naruto. She just acting like a child, was had her candy taken away from her. Itachi sighed. Seems that Naruto has made up his mind, and when he did that, it was incredibly hard to change it. But guys, be in subscribe right here. For the next portion, do like, subscribe, comment down below, and turn the bell notifications they posted. But more for now, see you guys soon. Peace.